Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnan Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. So, we continue our discussion on the Gospel of Holy Mother. And as you know, every alternate class is on the Gospel of Holy Mother. Next month also, there will be 2 classes on Gita and 2 classes alternately on the Gospel of Holy Mother. Normally, I was told by some of our monks that it's very common to have classes on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna because the Gospel of Holy Mother is a collection of scattered sayings, and you have to be a bit choosy and selective because there is many trivial and ordinary questions. M was so careful that he recorded only those conversations, or maybe he was present only during those times when some great discussions were going on. And Sri Ramakrishna was also conscious of the fact that M is recording it. He was designated for that purpose, as it were, though he didn't realize that Sri Ramakrishna is encouraging him to record it and maybe in future, some future date, publish it. Because it took about 30 years after, or even more. The last volume was published only in 1931, which was almost 45 years after Sri Ramakrishna passed away, took Mahasamadhi. Though the first volume he had begun translating or maybe begun publishing in 1900 when Swamiji was alive, a few booklets were published. But most of the conversations of M, as we find them now in the Gospel, they are all highly edited. The skill of M is not seen in these second series or the first series of talks which we see in the Gospel of Holy Mother. But one should not underestimate the importance because now and then Mother has given some gems of some advice which if the questionnaire, the person was asking the question, if he was a good disciple and he really asked some sincere questions, then the answers were equally spiritual and highly important for our spiritual life. But since the recording of these conversations were done by different people, you will often find that there are some trivial questions like what mother is to do. Trivial in the sense nothing about mother was trivial. Even her preparing food, cutting vegetables, preparing roti, everything was with a deep meaning. Everything she did was full of love. And we can learn lessons from her most trivial actions. Even the way she admonished, if at all she admonished some of the disciples, both women as well as men, we will find that she did it in such a nice way, with great firmness, but with equal amount of love. That is a rare thing. She was a real mother, and in a very motherly way, she did not want the children to go astray. So she used to, even if she had a even if she wanted to admonish somebody, she would do it in a very firm way, but in a very loving way that the person who heard it never forgot it in his lifetime. So that's why in the last conversation, if you remember, Ras Bihari Maharaj, I'll share his photographs. Today, somebody sent a rare photograph of Ras Bihari Maharaj. We have photos of other disciples of Holy Mother, but this Arupananda or Ras Bihari Maharaj, today, coincidentally, I got it on WhatsApp and I'll just post it. So you know the conversations which are recorded here is by Ras Bihari Maharaj, how Arupananda looked like. He was very thin, very skinny, something somewhat like, if you have seen Swami Vireshwaranandji, he was something like that. I mean, in as far as his physical structure was concerned, he was very thin and Arupananda, and mother liked him very much. There's no doubt about it because most of the conversations in the second series are recorded by him, and he was very close to mother, because mother would discuss some of the most intimate things with him. But at the same time, she loved him, and you never, I mean, hesitated out of love, of course, to sometimes say some things firmly to him, because he now and then expressed some doubts. So the last conversation, he said, "Mother, please see the question, how earnest this Ras Bihari Maharaj or Arupananda. He says, Mother, please see that I realize the right thing, that Ramakrishna is our own. Now she says, Sri Ramakrishna is your own. Why do you worry? Leave everything to him." Now this is a very simple advice mother has given, but the doubt keeps coming. If Ramakrishna is our own, how does he understand our problems? How does he solve our problems? So naturally, he was a young boy with lot of atheism, atheistic ideas, materialistic ideas, which is a result of modern education. He was a college student, you should remember. So naturally, he would not take things, believe things as easily as simple, uncomplicated people believe. There were people who would be convinced if mother said, no, Thakur will take care, they will be very happy and go. But he was of a type who wanted some reason, wanted some more assurance. So he asked, Mother, please see that I realize the right thing. That first he said, don't worry, Sri Ramakrishna will look after your welfare. Now, not convinced, she says, please see that I realize that Ramakrishna is our own. If I do that, then I don't have to worry. But right now, I am not able to do it. But mother gets a little irritated and says, must I repeat it? Means her idea was that I have told you something absolutely true. I'm not come here to deceive you. I'm not just your guru, but also your mother, that she has told in the previous conversation. And you're still doubting the mother. Should I repeat it? So she's saying firmly, you will certainly realize it. But still, she says, you will certainly realize it. And she adds emphasis on the word certainly. Nischay, maybe in Bengali she must have said Nischay. আবার বলবো, I mean, should I repeat it again? আবার কি বলতে হবে? মানে how many times should I repeat? Don't you have that much faith in me? When I said he will look after you, he has to look after you. That's the idea. So now the conversation, that was the last conversation. Now the whole topic changes. There's something very, very interesting about Guru, about how Naren, who was also an atheist, I mean atheist in the sense who was skeptical, and accepted his guru after a long period of testing and other things. So, Naren's example, mother is giving to tell Ras Bihari Maharaj that you are not alone. Even a disciple of Naren's caliber, it was difficult for him to accept not only Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, but my teachings, my convictions, my advice, which mother gave Naren now and then. Because after Sri Ramakrishna's passing away, Mahasamadhi, mother was like a guru. She was the Sangha Janani, and without her advice or without her permission, Naren would not do anything, including going to the West. You remember that incident. So Naren was definitely, this is 1909. So he must have come back from the West, and with all his experiences, the way Thakur protected him, the Thakur guided him, Sri Ramakrishna guided him, the way Sri Ramakrishna nicely got the work done through him. Perhaps after that his faith has increased. Definitely, he says, he after a long struggle, he accepted Sri Ramakrishna. Not only accepted, but had a firm conviction that what Sri Ramakrishna said about him, about his future mission, though he did not believe that he had 18 powers, more than Keshav Chandra Sen. If Keshav Chandra Sen had one power, you have 18 powers. Naren thought it is ridiculous. Keshav Chandra Sen is a founder of a huge movement and such a spiritual person, and I am a college boy. And here Sri Ramakrishna says that you have 18 such powers which Keshav has only one. So he was wondering whether so he did not believe in the first place, he didn't believe Sri Ramakrishna, but it took about 6 years when he slowly realized the capacity, the intuition, and the power of Sri Ramakrishna to see the future, not only see the future, That's why when Nivedita asked, who is a guru? The guru is one who tries to tell the disciple, who knows about the disciple's past, present, and future. That is the ideal guru, of course. Sri Ramakrishna is the ideal guru. So mother is saying he will definitely, you will realize that he is your own. That means mother as a guru is asserting this fact. But now the mother was in her room and Ras Bihari Maharaj comes. It is 19 December 1909. She was lying on her bed. The conversation drifted to Vedanta. I said to her, now you remember Ras Bihari Maharaj was studying Vedanta when he was in Belur Math, but now and then, seeing his earnest desire to meet his guru, he would be given errands, or he would be given an opportunity to meet his guru, Holy Mother. So he used to bring certain milk and vegetables. So Baburam Maharaj was very kind to give him those tasks so that he could officially meet his guru, Holy Mother, now and then. So he has come here and he has been hearing or reading Vedanta. That was one of the occupations which Belur Math Swamiji had told that all monks should undergo some kind of reading of Vedanta. So I was talking to the mother in her room. She was lying and the conversation drifted to Vedanta. Now and then he would ask his guru about the Vedanta which he learned, about the theoretical Vedanta he learned in Belur Math. So he wanted to have mother's view because he knew mother's view will be authentic, not only authentic, but his faith would increase if he gets a confirmation from mother. So he says, according to Vedanta, nothing exists in the world except name and form. That is what Shankaracharya and all others believe. That what is this world? It is just name and form. If you take up any object, it has two things, which one is name, another is form. And every time we identify with the name and form, the moment the name and form vanishes, we feel something has gone. Though Satchidananda Sat, the existence never goes. But the Maya or the world as we see it, we see only the name and form. We don't see the Sat, Chit and Ananda aspect, which is common. So, Mother, according to Vedanta, Shankaracharya tries to tell us that don't get attached to the world because the world is nothing but name and form. The essence is somewhere else. The essence is deep within us. Even we have a name and form. Today, tomorrow, if we are not here, if our body is not here, if our mind is not here, that name goes, the form goes. Then what is our identity? The identity is Sat, the existence, the awareness which we have. It never goes because even in deep sleep, the awareness that I am sleeping, I am dreaming, I am seeing all these objects, I am rich, I am poor, all these identities, self-identities keep changing, but somebody is seeing that. So that Sat never goes. So it cannot be proved that matter exists. Now, according to Vedanta, if you see matter exists, modern physics also says that. The moment we try to observe matter, it suddenly becomes energy. And then suddenly that energy disappears. So the universe, the physical universe as we see, is 0.1%. The rest of it is dark matter. That's what modern physics is confused now. This vast universe, what we think is matter, and it's so much important to us. We think the matter is the whole universe. But if you just glance or have a glimpse into the cosmos, we are living in a very lonely world where a speck of the universe is matter. If you see the whole galaxy, it is frightening. We are living in a dark world, which is totally dark. Unknown things are more than 99%. And what we see is very little. The universe that is visible to us, what we think as matter is, that's what the scientists say. They are not sure about the percentage, but they say huge percentage of the multiverse. They don't even say universe, because which universe? Our galaxy, but there are millions of galaxies. And then when they stretch their imagination, they're confused. If we are such a small dot in this universe, not even a dot, a micro universe in which we are living, and we think this is the whole thing. We go after this property, we go after material things. So Vedanta says the matter doesn't exist. Don't put your mind into that. What Thakur said, Kamini Kanchan, is nothing but matter. So the gross thing which says, according to Vedanta, it cannot be proved that matter exists. Now, this is according to the Western philosophy of those days. In those days, modern physics was not there, but still this idea was there. And some of the philosophers of the West, they said, how can you prove the existence of matter? Now, therefore, the conclusion is that God and such other things also do not exist. But this is a wrong idea. Now, the God as a material God perhaps may not exist. His form exists, name and form. Our name and form will vanish. God's name and form will vanish. And then the truth will remain. That is what we pray. When we pray to Sri Ramakrishna, we don't pray to the form of Sri Ramakrishna. We pray to the essence through the form. So Sri Ramakrishna is a doorway. Avtara is a doorway to that existence. What that existence is, we have to enter and experience and use Sri Ramakrishna as a help to take us there. That is the essence of Sri Ramakrishna's message. He doesn't say that I am in flesh and blood, because when he left, he told mother, where have I gone? I am still here. I just changed my room. So the name and form has gone, but I have not gone. I am still deep within your heart, the existence of your existences. So that is what Vedanta means when the name of form. Therefore, he says the God in the sense, in the Western concept of God and the materialistic concept of God, that as a human being living in the clouds or ruling the universe, that doesn't exist. That is true. According to Vedanta, it doesn't exist. So, my idea was, now Raspberry Maharaj is very honest. He is asking mother a very tricky question. He seems to be asking, if God does not exist, then you as a guru, Thakur as a avatar, my Ishta, who is, you say, is all in all, then are they all, because they are also name and form. You repeat the name of Thakur, you meditate on the form of Thakur. If world is Maya according to Vedanta, name and form are not eternal, they are temporary. Then Thakur also is temporary, you also are temporary. I mean, he was so close to Holy Mother, he could ask boldly these questions. Now the thing is, you see how mother answers. Now you would expect a person who has never gone to school, how can she answer such a wonderful, but see the answer. This would even, she gives the example of Narendra who asked this question. It's not that Ras Bihari Maharaj is asking this question. This question was asked to Holy Mother and she has answered Narendra also. So Narendra also was in a very big Vedantic mood. He said, no, Thakur Bakur, I don't believe. He said, but he quoted a verse, very interesting. He quoted a verse saying, she once understood my thought, mother understood my thought, Ras Bihari Maharaj, and said, Holy Mother told him, giving the example of Narendra who had asked a similar question. She says, Narendra once said to me, Mother, the knowledge that disregards the lotus feet of Guru is nothing but ignorance. Now this is a verse from the Guru Gita. Guru Rangri Padme Manaschena Lagnam Tatakim 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 Tatakim. So this is Shankaracharya's famous verses on Guru, where he says, if you have all the wealth in the world, if you have everything in the world, if you have knowledge, if you have fame, if you have name, but if you don't have devotion to the lotus feet of the Guru, what is the fun? What have you gained in life? So that is what Naren quoted. And then, because Naren was a Vedantin, and he could dismiss the world as Maya. Somebody asked him, this world is a horrible place. He said, according to my philosophy, if the whole world goes and gets crushed into atoms, it will, in my philosophy, according to my philosophy, that is the best thing to happen. Let the whole world vanish. I will still be there because I have realized myself as consciousness. So that is what Narendra was bold enough to tell the Westerners. Here also is telling Mother that I don't care. I don't care about the mission or the message I have to give. As long as I have devotion to the faith, this quoting from Shankaracharya, that I don't want name. I have become a celebrity. You remember, Swamiji came back to Velur Math, and then He decided to live with the small animals in a very simple way. He gave up the presidentship of the order. And somebody asked him, you started this wonderful work, you started the order, you started the mission, and what is all this? He said, no, I am that same boy who used to live uh, at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna, who my guru, and I want to be that same boy. I have no desire for anything, name, fame, everything has gone, vanished, because I saw the impermanence of all those things. I did whatever he wanted me to do. I've done it. My job is over. Now let me spend my time. That is how he was preparing to be one with Sri Ramakrishna. That's why he was in that mood. And he says, what is the use, mother, of the knowledge? He's telling Holy Mother this, that what is the use of that knowledge that disregards the lotus feet of the Guru, and it is nothing but ignorance. So he's quoting Shankaracharya. And he wants to tell mother that I'm disgusted with all these things. Now I just want to be at the feet of the Guru, means not literally, because Sri Ramakrishna was not existing at that time. The ignorance which his Guru has removed. Sri Ramakrishna once told him, I have given you the taste of the mango. Now the mango is with me and the key is with me. When your work is over, I will give you back that mango. That means you will go back to the original state from which you came. But you have to do my work now. He didn't give him that experience again till he gave him Mahasamadhi at the end of his life. So this was the stage before 1909, mother is saying, but this would have been before July 4th, when Swamiji gave up the body on July 4th. So he would have told mother, now I don't feel like doing anything. I just want to live on the knowledge which my Guru has given me, the taste of that knowledge, and I just want to merge in that. Then, what is the validity of knowledge if it proves that the Guru is not? Give up this dry discussion, this hodgepodge of philosophy. Who has been able to know God by reasoning? This is all what Narayan is telling Holy Mother. He was telling this thing to Mother, saying what Vedanta says. He says, who has been able to know God by reasoning? Even Shiva and sages like Shuka and Vyasa are like big ants at the most. Now, this big ant story, there is a small footnote in the Gospel where this thing is explained. Now, this reference is to an illustration. Ant, how did this ant came? Even Shiva and sages, Shiva is the guru of yogis, and Shuka and Vyasa are all the founders of Vedanta. Even they are like ants, trying to take a small grain of sugar compared to what God's knowledge is. They are like big ants at the most. We are small ants trying to understand the world, trying to understand spirituality in a very normal, narrow way. But Shuka and Vyasa must have understood more than us, but still they are big ants, not anything better than that. That is the greatness of this Vedanta, that it does not consider any personality, however great he or she is, to be above knowledge. Knowledge is supreme. So one who attains that is fulfilled, or one who realizes that is really, has reached the goal of life, moksha. Men often think that they have understood Brahman fully. Now, this is the story which the footnote tells. Thakur used to say, give this example. This is an original example. Thakur was so wonderfully used to explain this abstruse philosophy, and so that even a illiterate person can understand. He says, who are this Shuka? Who are this Vyasa? Who are the Shiva, who is the yoga guru of all yogis? Who are they? They have also not understood Brahman fully. Once an ant went to a hill of sugar. There was a huge hill of sugar, and an ant goes there. The small ants go, big ants go. Each one has its own capacity. One grain filled its stomach. Taking another grain in its mouth, it started homeward, because that's what the ants do. They eat, and once they are filled, they know that we may need it at night, or maybe we may need it later on. So they keep on storing. Every time they go and they first have their fill. They eat that small grain of sugar or syrup, and the rest of it they carry They can carry almost their equal weight. That's how they carry. They are so strong that they can carry the weight of a grain of sugar, which is as heavy as them. And they bring it and store it wherever their house is, wherever their the place where it is safe, so that they can enjoy that sugar. So he says, Thakur gives this example. On its way, that silly ant thought, oh, now I am able to carry 1 grain of sugar. But next time I come, I'm going to take this whole pahad, this whole mountain of sugar. Though it doesn't know that it doesn't have the capacity. With great difficulty, it is able to take 1 grain. Why don't you be satisfied with that? So Sri Ramakrishna is giving this example. That is why shallow minds think, oh, they don't know that Brahman is beyond one's words and thought. However great a man may be, how much of can he know of Brahman? Shukadeva and sages like him may have been big ants, but even they could carry at the most 8 or 10 grains of sugar. Now this is what Thakur is saying. See, they were big ants, huge ants, so perhaps they had a capacity to carry 8 ants. But even they cannot express the glory of Brahman. You have to realize it and be merged with it, that's all. If you try to explain it with your mouth, if you try to articulate it and explain it, you will always fall short of words. That's why Thakur, when he was asked, he said, I see these things, I want to tell you, but my mother is pressing my mouth. By mother means, he says, Prakriti doesn't allow me. My speech, my organ, my articulation, my lips are not enough to explain the glory of that Brahman. You can just experience, but you can carry only 1 grain, 2 grains, and people like Shuka, Vyasa, and Shankaracharya and all the great Shiva, they may carry at the most 8 grains. That's why we think they are prophets, they are great people. But still, their capacity is limited. Experience of Brahman is one thing, trying to articulate it through the mouth, through the lips. However much you try, you can at the most carry 8 grains. That's the idea. This is from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Holy Mother is quoting and telling Ras Bihari Maharaj. And she says, so I told Naren this. No, Naren once said to me. So disciple was excited. He said, oh, Naren discussed such a great philosophical question with Holy Mother. And let us see what Mother answered him. Now something very interesting comes. Then disciple says, I want to know. I understand a little too, but how can one stop reasoning? Mother is hinting to him, don't bother with philosophy too much. Just do as I tell you. And when you get the experience, you'll get the knowledge. Don't go to think whether God is with name and form. You don't need that. You have a guru. And as Naren said, if you have devotion to the feet of the guru, then what does it matter? Whether you have knowledge, whether you know the Shastras. If you see that beautiful verse, Guru Rangre Padme Manaschena Lagnam Tatah Kim Tatah Kim Tatah Kim Tatah Kim means, and 4 times Shankaracharya repeats. And every verse he describes some worldly or scriptural excellence, academic excellence. He says, if I have all the knowledge of the world, if I know all the scriptures, if I can articulate very well, if I have all the wealth of the world, so each verse will glorify one aspect of human glory as it is understood by the worldly people, or even the scholarly people who, though they may be scholarly, they are still worldly. So he is trying to, Holy Mother is trying to tell that even Naren understood this. And he said, if I have devotion to the feet of my Guru, Guru Rangri Padme, Padme means the lotus feet of my Guru, then I will get that realization. Then I don't need these grains of sugar. He will fulfill me. He will give me whatever is necessary. So Holy Mother gave a hint that you just do what your Guru is telling you. Guru means she herself. And why don't you have faith? Why do you want to study this Vedanta and then? But disciple says, still I want to know, I understand a little too, but I can't stop reasoning. How can one stop reasoning? Again and again this doubt comes. And then I go to the scriptures, I read Gita, I read Upanishads, I study Vedanta, then come back to you and you say everything will happen. Then again doubt comes. I am satisfied, but then mother says, you see her answer, reasoning does not disappear as long as one has not attained to perfect knowledge, unless one has the experience. When did reasoning disappear from Swamiji's life? Only when he had that experience of Mahasamadhi, or that Samadhi which Thakur touched and gave him, his Guru gave him. So he knew my Guru has something which all the study of scriptures can't give me. That's why Naren could tell that. Guru Rangri Padme, he quoted that. So mother says, why don't you do like that? Why don't you have the faith which Naren had for his Guru? If you have that, then you'll understand, you'll get the experience. You don't have to ask what Vedanta says is with name or with form. What happens if the name and form goes? What remains? Then you go on. No doubt it has some value. It will help you intellectually. But beyond that, unless you experience what Brahman is, it is like carrying 1 grain of sugar. You may be a big ant, you may carry 2 grains of sugar if you are very scholarly. But still, if you don't have faith, if you don't have experience by the grace of your Guru, you are still in the kindergarten of religion. So he says, reasoning will not disappear so easily. She's telling him. As long as one, then Arupananda knew, or Brasbihari Maharaj knew, now let us ask something more fundamental. Let us ask something about japa, because mother was telling her all the time, you just go on doing japa. So he says, mother, I asked her about japa and other spiritual practices. He thought, let us not discuss many things because mother is giving such a less importance to reasoning. Let me question her about certain practical things which she has given me and which I ought to practice, japa and other spiritual practices. The mother said, now you see, she comes to the fundamentals of spirituality without wasting time on polemics and all the scriptural discussions. She says, mother said, though through these spiritual disciplines, the ties of the past karma are cut asunder. Now, why should the ties of the past karma be cut? Because as long as this karma is there, one cannot expect to be not attached to the world. The karma will make you do work. Karma, slowly it has to be cut. Today or tomorrow, one has to cut these ties. So mother says, if you do japa, this is what will happen. This is what will happen. Unless the ties of the past karma are cut. But realization of God cannot be achieved without ecstatic love, prema bhakti for Him. Said, you may cut the ties of your karma. Many of your karma will go away. But then, will that give you the final realization? No. Only love for God. So you just don't do good. People do good karma. People do good, noble things to remove their old karma. That is fine. That will give them, at least they will prevent them from suffering in life. So there are many ways to remove the karma. So japa is a very powerful way. And mother says it will be cut. The karma will be cut. As she said, if you were destined to receive a sword wound, mother, the karma will be less to such an extent that you will just get a pin prick. You will get the effect of karma. You will have to bear the fruits of that karma, but it will be less. You can bear it. That much japa can do. But if you combine japa with love for God, if you Thakur, that's why she's saying, please consider Thakur as your own. You love him. And see, he'll give you everything you want. You don't have to study shastras and do all these things. Prema Bhakti. Prema Bhakti means, I'll come to that, as mother will explain. Mother says, then he says, without ecstatic love for God. It's not just a love which is based on barter. You know, we also love, children love their parents as long as they get things. Now, there is a wonderful thing which I heard some of the senior monks saying, that the difference between worldly people and the spiritual people is, worldly people use people for getting things. All their relationships have value as long as they can accumulate more and more things. Whereas in the case of spiritual people, you use things to develop a relationship with people. You help others, you serve others, you love others. Why do you do? Because you want to make the whole world your own. What did mother do? You just see the life of mother. All she did was cook, cut vegetables, cook, make roti, and give. She used even the betel leaf, the pan she used to make to feed people and then feed them. And after the lunch or dinner, she used to feed them. It's a very insignificant thing, but you see the difference. She used these things to make people her own. She wanted to make the whole world her own. She thought that these are my children. So she used her things to love people. But the worldly life, the world, that is the basic difference between spirituality and the worldly life. In worldly life, we love people as long as they give us things. The husband loves the wife. It's a bit crude thing to tell, but it is true in many cases. Even the children love the parents if they give them things. The first thing the child is taught, the mother will perhaps teach the child. When the father comes, perhaps he's tired and he has come after a hard day's work. And instead of asking if the child is taught to ask, what have you brought for me? The father is important if he brings toys. Of course, if he brings it out of love and he gives it without being asked and you take it, that's a different thing. That is what Holy Mother used to do. She used to give, but if you always expect certain things, material things from people, that means you are using people. Your relationship with people is for things. Things are more important to you. If you see, if you have trained the child in a wrong way, he would rather take the thing and then ask the father, now you go, do your business. You have given me the toy, let me be happy now. I will be engaged with. This is the wrong training we give. That we use these things, people, we manipulate people. It's there in everywhere. It's not just between parents. It's between the employee and the employers. It is everywhere. People are used as if they are more insignificant than things. To put it in a very crude way, to earn money, you use people, you manipulate people. So, our whole life, if it is from a worldly perspective, we don't love people. We love people as long as it gives us more possessions, gives us more things. So, things we want to possess, whereas people we want to use. But see, the slight change in the attitude, if you see mother's life, she also used things. She never said, I don't want these things. She also fed people. But she used the things to make people her own rather than make the things her own. Whatever things she had, whatever little she had, she didn't have much. She was not a billionaire to give things. Even if a person gives certain things, he wants to enslave that person or somehow he doesn't give out of pure love. So that's why uh, Holy Mother used to say that pure love of God, you don't expect anything from him. You just love him because he's your own. When that is true love, these things happen in the family life also. You just love your child, whether he's good, whether he's able to give you certain things. There may be some intelligent child who makes maybe the mother, when the child grows up, one child may be very talented, maybe very rich, another may be having some physical disability and he is not able to match up with his elder brother. But the mother's love, if the mother is true, if she is not loving the children for the things the children give her back, then her love will be more for that uh, uh, child who is not able to give her. She feels more compassion for that. She says that child is able to look after himself. The elder son is able to look after himself. But this child needs my attention. So that is what true love does. She would rather, a true mother. That's how God thinks. When you have a relationship with God, we don't love him for the things he gives us. He may or may not give. If he gives out of love, That's what mother did. She simply gave without any expectation. Whoever came, if the Amjad came, if her own Sharat Maharaj came, Rasbihari Maharaj came, or even if a dacoit like Amjad came, who was just an employee, who was just doing some work, was employed to do some work, he was getting his wages. But mother made even Amjad her own by giving him the same treatment, the same food, which she gave to her monastic disciples. So that's why she says that we should have prema bhakti for Lord. If you do that, then you will really understand who that Lord is, and you will get some of the qualities of the Lord, which leads to true knowledge, true love, true Sat, Chit, and Ananda, the real existence as it is. Now, the second sentence is very important. Do you know the significance of japa and other spiritual practice? Now she is coming back to the things with japa and spiritual. He says, by these, the dominance of the sense organs is subdued. Now you see, yesterday we talked about pratyahara. I don't know how many of you attended this. I took so much time discussing the topic of pratyahara. Subduing of sense organs, how important it is. Yes. How important it is. Why is it important? Because without that, we can't make progress. You can't think of higher things if you don't subdue your sense organs. Now, the significance of japa and spiritual practices is nothing but pratyahara. It's asana and pranayama we discussed. Those are physical exercises, which we anyway do. And yama, niyama, asana, pranayama. And then I told you the fifth stage is very vital in Raj Yoga before we go to dharana and dhyana. And there I told you, mother says the same thing. The dominance of the sense organs is subdued. So japa is a simple way. Yesterday somebody was asking me how to practice pratyahara. Now mother gives for every problem, her solution is simple, the easiest and the best way. You just do the japa which the Guru has given you. It will give you ecstatic love, it will give you prema bhakti, it will give you subdue your organs, it will do everything for you, including give you Brahma Jnana. So she says, why do you complicate matters? Don't bring all these Vedantic discussions. Otherwise, you will go on reasoning and end nowhere and achieve nothing in life. So that's why she says, by this, the dominance of sense organs is subdued. Those of you who have not heard the talk on Pratyahara, please go to, if you are on Facebook, I can even send the link on WhatsApp. Please listen to that talk. Many of you might have missed yesterday because it's a Friday. Many of you would have come late. It was at 4:30, but still 43, 44 people were there. But that is very important because without that, yoga, the journey of yoga does not even begin. We complain that we don't get japa, we don't get meditation, we don't enjoy meditation, we can't concentrate. Even for secular development, the lack of concentration, the lack of meditation, leave meditation, just dharana, the lack of concentration, which is essential for success, even in successful to have a successful career, even that is not possible without subduing the sense organs. That's what mother is telling. And least in spirituality, you cannot even make any progress without subduing that. And that is done by japa. So pratyahara, which is subduing the sense organs and also the mind, because the mind is intimately connected. That is so important. Referring to Lalit Chatterjee, now mother gives an example. He says, referring to Lalit Chatterjee, who had been dangerously ill, the mother said, Lalit used to give me great financial help. He was a rich devotee and very devoted to Holy Mother. He would take me out in his carriage. He gives much for the divine service in the shrines at Dakshineshwar and Kamarpukur. My Lalit, you see, though he is a worldly person, he says, my Lalit has a heart worth ₹1,000,000. There are many in this world who are miserly in spite of their wealth. The rich should serve God and his devotees with money. So she is giving hope to both. Jar ache she mapo, jar nai she japo. This is one famous Bengali quotation. Jar ache means those who have. It's not necessary to be rich to serve serve people. You can serve in many ways. That's what she's telling, because she knows our Arupananda is not of that. He might feel, what will I do for the world? She says, those who have money, like Lalit Chatterjee, let him use it for good purposes, because all millionaires or all rich people are not so liberal like Lalit. They may be miserly also. The rich should serve God and his devotees with money, and the poor should worship God by repeating his name. So she is trying to balance these two things. Said, don't be sorry that you are not rich. Don't be sorry that you are not able to work out your karma because you don't have money. Because there is a feeling that there are people who make such a big fuss about charity. They think by charity, by dana, you get punya. And just by giving dana, okay, I'm earning ₹1,000,000. I give a check and I feel so proud that I have helped. I have built so many hospitals. I've done this, I've done that. And they feel that they have done a great charity. No doubt it is very good to be not to be miserly. That's why mother says he has a wonderful heart. He is using the money wisely. But if you don't have it, don't worry. Jar ache she mapo means you measure your money and give it, or you count your money. If you have excess, give it. But if you don't have it, then you do japa. It is equally powerful. It's equally effective. You don't have to just be rich to help people. You don't have to be powerful to help people. Sitting in the corner of your room, that's what mother did. How did she look after the welfare of all the disciples? She was just sitting in her room and doing japa without end, lakhs and lakhs of japa. Don't think it is powerless. That's what she's telling Arupananda. You can help the whole world sitting. Swamiji himself said that a person sitting in a remote cave and just thinking intensely 5 good thoughts does more help than a billionaire who's helping children or helping building orphanages, building hospitals, and he thinks gross. You see, the idea of charity has become so gross that we don't understand that there can be mental charity. Can you be charitable to a autistic child? Can you be charity to a man who is suffering? Can you speak a few words? Does it require money? Can you not be kind to somebody? Can you use your japa to help somebody in need? What great, what is the need for just physical wealth or physical power or physical work to help another? That is, no doubt it is, if you have that, jar ache she mapo, jar nai she japo. So mother gives a wonderful idea of the ideal of service. Now you see, Swami Vivekananda said Shiva Gyana Jeev Seva. Now, the moment you say Jeev Seva, they think building hospitals, going to the hospitals and helping poor people, and people say, oh, what a wonderful work he's doing. No doubt it is appreciable. He's not spending money on going on, uh, spending the money on luxurious things and spending on his personal luxury, but is saving at least some money and giving it to people in need. That is fine. That is the least he can do. A millionaire. God has given him this wealth. Just as Swamiji told Rockefeller that be a trustee, be grateful to God that he has given you billions and billions and you can spare that money for charity. But at the same time, let him not be egotistic. And he became, the moment he donated 10% in charity, Rockefeller, he came and thought he has done such a big thing and he wanted Swamiji to thank him. He said, see what I have done. I have given 10% and created a huge foundation. Swamiji did not even look at him. He knew the importance or the significance of this donation, but he said, you should thank me. What is there to thank? You are given, you have 1 billion and you give 10% of it. What great thing you have done. A person who has 1,000 pounds and he gives 500, he is a much bigger donor than you because there is some self-sacrifice inward. And you arrogantly come and tell me, So there's no need for me to thank you, but you should thank me. That was the famous conversation he had with Rockefeller. Of course, Rockefeller was a bit upset when Swamiji said that, but later on he understood what is charity, how much you can do, even with the 10%, even if he had given 50% of his wealth, he still continued to be a very rich man. So what is his sacrifice? Where has he sacrificed? So Holy Mother seems to be saying that Lalit Chatterjee is good. He has donated millions of rupees. He would do so much for service of shrines in Dakshineshwar, Kamarpukur, and my Lalit has a heart worth ₹1,000,000. But at the same time, he says the poor can also worship him by their humble japa. This is something very significant Mother is telling. And referring to the ecstatic love, now we will this come to the main topic. Holy Mother said, did the cowherd boys of Brindavan get see Krishna as their own through japa or meditation? Now first she is telling the futility of just thinking that money is charity and says japa is also equally powerful. Then she says even japa is not enough if you have love. It is far superior. He says the cowherd boys of Krishna, did they ever do japa? For example, Yashoda, Sri Krishna showed her so many visions as a child, and when he grew up also, he could have become. She could have been surprised by that, but she says, "No, I don't want to see you. I'm happy by feeding you butter, by feeding you simple things. I'm happy because it was her love which is more important." She says, I don't want to worship you as a Krishna with the four arms and Vishnu, and I'm afraid of those visions, or I'm not interested in those visions. So many visions. Mouth he showed the whole universe. So people would have been happy with that kind of spiritual experience. But she says no, because Holy Mother here is trying to tell that love, true love, if it is there in your heart, it can give you more things. Prema Bhakti. So he says they made Krishna their own. These cowherd boys did not even have to do japa. Maybe because we don't have that love, we do japa to get that ecstatic love. But for the cowherd boys, they were so lucky that they had Krishna as their friend. Just as Josephine MacLeod, I don't think she had any, Swamiji ever gave her any mantra. She just loved Swamiji. She just thought that Swamiji is my friend. And not only she was, of course, in age, she was almost 20-30 years older too when she met Swamiji. And she lived up to a ripe age. I don't think she ever sat for meditation. It was just through love, just through remembrance of Swamiji. If that is there, Mother seems to say that they realized him, they means the cowherd boys of Brindavan realized him through ecstatic love. They used to say to him, as to an intimate friend, come here, oh Krishna, eat this, eat that. So in just playfulness, in just sharing company with God himself, they could understand and they knew that just by feeding him butter, just by doing the small tasks with love, of course, it's not the money that you give or the japa that you do. If you do it with a business attitude, then God will not be pleased. You do japa, that's fine to remove your karma, Mother says, just as you do charity to take some punya and remove your old karma, that is fine. But you won't realize him unless you have that love. That's why she is telling Rasbihari Maharaj, just think Thakur is your own and try to love him without any condition and you'll get everything. Just like these cowherd boys who did not have money, who did not even do japa, even they got Sri Krishna as their friend. Then the disciple is asking another question now. In the cowherd boys, they could see Krishna. He was in flesh and blood with them. Gauri Ma, Gopalar Ma, Holy Mother, they saw Thakur. They could feed him. But what can I do? I don't see Thakur. You see how intelligent he is. He's asking this question. How can I love somebody whom I don't see? So he says, how can one yearn for God without seeing the manifestation of his love? Manifestation of his love as in Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar, kindly talking to his disciples, worrying for them, arranging carriage for to go to home. Chunilal Ghosh. He was so concerned, not that he was just giving them spiritual knowledge. He was even concerned. It was that love which attracted Chunilal Ghosh. He knew Chunilal did not have money to even go back. So he used to wait and tell the rich devotees of Thakur, please take him in the carriage and drop him there. Otherwise, he has to walk all the way. So that love which Thakur gave and that love which Chunilal had for Thakur, he did not perhaps sit in front of Thakur and close his eyes like Hajra did and do japa. When Rammai Maharaj used to tell something very interesting, Sharat Maharaj, he was serving Rammai Maharaj, who was mother's disciple, used to make roti with mother. And one day, because everybody was meditating, instead of serving mother and helping her, because she was getting old and not able to work. So when Sharat Maharaj came to Jairam Bhatti, or maybe in Udbodhan, I don't know where it happened, but he was neglecting helping the mother and doing japa or trying to meditate in the shrine, thinking that, oh, perhaps everybody is doing, I should do that. Sharat Maharaj said, Are, the person on whom you are meditating is sitting there and preparing rotis and chapatis, and you, instead of helping her, you are sitting and expecting her to bless you by, no, you go there. So that shows that if you have ecstatic love for God, it is far superior than japa or doing charity. So then he asked one, without seeing him, his manifestation of his love, can we yearn for God? Can we have that kind of love without seeing him? So mother says, yes, it is possible. So it may be difficult, but it is possible. There lies the grace of God. Now, those who love him without seeing him, once Mahapurush Maharaj told this to some brahmacharis. They said, Thakur, you are so lucky you could see Thakur and you could live with him. He get his love and you could love him. He could love you. You could experience that physically. But we are so unlucky. We just came a little late. Then Mahapurush Maharaj said, don't think like that. We loved him because we saw him. We could not help loving him because he was such a lovable person. But you people have come and are loving him and sacrificing your whole life and meditating on him even without meeting him. So you must have more love in your hearts than we people. You are more lucky. So that is the way of how they, direct disciples, looked upon and consoled or gave conviction to these people. They used to tell that you people are more lucky. You are just banking on faith and trying to love Thakur. So you are in a way superior to the people who have seen him. And there might have been many people who saw Thakur and they would not have been attracted. They were after money. Hriday, for example, in the beginning he was trying to get money from other people, even though he was in close contact with Thakur. But then later on, when he was missing Thakur, he found that it was his love which was more important, and I wasted my time. And because he had served Thakur, Thakur blessed him. That was a different story. But there were other people in Dakshineshwar who would have never bothered to enter Thakur's room. Why would they do that? Because they could not understand the ecstatic love even though Thakur was present. And even if people who have come much later, though they have not met Thakur, seen him physically present to share love, but still by reading his wonderful personality, by reading Swamiji's word that he was love personified, in our imagination, if we do it, Holy Mother says, through His grace, you will also get the same love. So that is what she is promising or convincing Rajbihari Maharaj. Yes, it is possible. Why is it not possible? Therein lies the grace of God. So now we come to another conversation. There is just 1 minute. I'll read it because we have to remember this connection when we discuss this next time. 31st December, after a few days, he comes to Jairam, but it was 9 in the morning and Holy Mother was preparing beetle rolls. Soon we were engaged in a conversation, and disciple, as usual, you must have seen Mother is doing this simple job, cooking food and rolling beetles so that she can feed these people, the devotees. Mother, I have seen and heard so much. Still, unfortunately, I cannot recognize you as my real mother, as my own mother. Then Mother tells something very significant. I'll close after that, then we'll have a questions. We are almost finished. The time is over. Mother says, if you don't think of me as your own, say you are saying now that you, I'm not able to think of Holy Mother as your own, as his own mother is not so close. Then how is it that you come here often? I don't call you, you come here often. You come here, you will know your own mother in proper time. Own mother means this idea that Holy Mother is his own mother, more closer than his own mother. That you will realize in time. But because you are getting a taste of that motherly feeling, you are coming now and then. So you don't have to worry. If you did not feel, if you did not even have 10% of that feeling, you would not have come here again and again. So after a while, I said to her, referring to my parents and brothers, my parents brought me up. I don't know where they are now after their death and how they live. Please give your blessings that my brothers may have good tendencies. So he is trying to say that the so-called biological relations are not longer anymore. So he still is attached to his family. No doubt that is very natural. And he's telling mother, you please bless them. So then mother gives a very beautiful answer, which I will reserve. Then she will explain the difference between biological parents and the mother, the real mothers, the spiritual mother, as she is. What is the difference between the biological relationship? Because he's still attached a little bit and he thinks, what has happened to them? My mother and father have died. Are they, because they were not spiritual, because they did not have the grace, what will happen to them? So mother will give the answers, beautiful answers in the next class. We will discuss that. I'll take your leave now. So if there are one or two questions, you can just ask. Then we'll close. Yeah. Yes, if there is some question, you can just ask.
Hello, Swamiji. Ravi here. Can
Yes.
I ask question, please?
Yes.
You mentioned earlier that we can do charity by just doing japa. How does that work?
How does it work means?
Um,
Japa when you are doing, when
mm,
you do continuous japa for the welfare of, not just for your own welfare,
mm,
you do it as, see, everything that you do, if you remember, we have to offer to God, isn't it?
yes.
Huh? So money also we are offering by serving him. If you think you are offering a human being, then that is not seva. If you offer it in the name of God, then it removes your karma. So also japa when you do, you don't do it with a specific purpose. You do it because we have been given these instructions. You do it, and then finally you offer it to God. When you offer it to God, no, how God will use the benefit, the fruits of that japa, how much He will give it to you. Many of the karmas, as Mother said, will be washed away. But the effect of japa is so much that it not only changes your destiny, it changes the destiny of the people who are in your immediate circle, or even though maybe not be in the immediate vicinity physically, but anywhere in the world. So if you, it is like thinking good thoughts. You are adding to the cosmic fund, the huge fund of good thoughts, because there are many people who are giving out bad thoughts, evil thoughts, selfish thoughts. So to counter that, by just giving it in a subtle way, by doing japa, you are doing some kind of charity and trying to balance. Because if the good is not balanced, does not balance the bad tendencies, There are many people. How many may be doing japa? So the intensity of japa of great people, of disciples of the great people, helps us to maintain a balance, an order in the universe. And that is why yada yada dharmasya in Gita, Sri Krishna says, whenever there is the balance of evil is more than the balance of good, I come. He comes with all his power. He comes with his disciples, and they do japa, they balance it. Okay? So that is how we are doing good to the world, by doing japa. You got my point? The
Yeah,
every good thought you think, at least you are not thinking a bad thought. So you're not harming yourself. Huh? You're not harming yourself, you're not harming your children, you're not harming your near and dear ones by your good thoughts. But if, for example, if you're not doing japa and doing some bad actions or maybe something selfish or negative, they are damaging the world, isn't it? So by doing positive things, by doing japa, you are adding something, contributing something to the world, in a subtle way. And according to Mother, it is as good or more important than giving money. Because money is gross, japa is fine. So many people give gross charity. They do gross charity, but nobody does charity of spirituality. Okay?
thank you.
Okay. So if there are no more questions,
Swamiji, I've got a question. If
who's
there's,
that? Arijit. Okay.
yeah. Pranam Swamiji.
Yes.
So I often hear this, and I also feel it this way, that as a householder,
Yes.
we often feel guilty that we do not spend enough time on God or related to spirituality. Maybe once a day we do japa, or we spend maybe 15 minutes, half an hour
Yes.
throughout the week, maybe a little bit more on the weekend.
Yes.
I would like to get your views on this. I mean, the guilt that we often have that we don't spend enough time.
Now, why? What is there to be guilty? Whenever you get a chance, if you have done your best, huh, it is Thakur to say that householders have a huge load on their head. But in spite of that, if whatever time they get, only we have to be sincere and see that the leisure we get, as far as possible, we try to use it for doing this japa and whatever things you believe is doing japa is not the only thing. You can do charity, you can do some good things, you can help somebody. So there are many ways of contributing to this world. So there is an opportunity always, and only we have to see that apart from the things which we really do to survive, whenever we get an opportunity, we have to ensure that we are not wasting it. Then there's no question of feeling guilty. You are, by virtue of your karma, by virtue of everybody's karma, we are put in a place where we have to do certain things. You have a family to maintain, maybe that is the wish of God. So you do it to the extent you can do it, you do it. After that, still you will find that you don't have to use 100% of your resources. No person has to spend all his time, because everybody has leisure in his life. So how you carefully and intelligently use your leisure and do as much as possible, then there is no reason to feel guilty about it. You know that this is my limit. I can spare 1 hour, but have I used that 1 hour? I get 1 hour and then maybe even that I don't use. Then perhaps you get a feeling that I have not done justice. But if you have that luxury, I call it a luxury because everybody doesn't get that opportunity. But that doesn't matter. Doing your duty perfectly also is a kind of sadhana. If you are doing it in a noble way, if you are serving humanity in some way or the other, maybe part of it is to earn a living, but there also you have an opportunity to serve people. There also you have an opportunity to share your spirituality. You can even do japa when you are traveling, and there's so many opportunities. If there is a will, there is a way. Okay?
Right.
So you don't
Thank
have
you.
to feel guilty at all. Why should you feel guilty? Nobody should feel guilty.
Thank you, Swami.
Okay? So shall I take your leave now? Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.